Hello, hello. Anyone? Hi. Y'all got me? Loud and clear? Good? 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 Oh, everyone good? Cool.
We'll do one more sound check before we get going, make sure everybody's good. I believe so. No, yeah, I think right here.
I don't hear that a lot, John.
Boob mics or anything? 1, 2, 3, 4, test. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, we're back. We're good? All right. All right, well, good afternoon, everyone. We really appreciate your flexibility as we coordinated this afternoon. What we're going to do here is, first I'm going to turn it over to Regent Tim Lancaster. He will make a brief statement, and then he would be happy to answer any questions you have. With that, I'll turn it over to Regent Lancaster.
Good afternoon. As Brett said, we really appreciate all of you coming back and doing this. I know some of you were here already and had to make your way back, but thanks for taking that time to do that. Behind me, you see almost all of the Board of Regents. We don't have everybody that could stay, but behind me you see almost all of them that are here this afternoon. And we just want to say that the last few months have been difficult for Texas Tech University. However, over the last few months, I've also witnessed firsthand really the passion that so many people that are and the faith that people have in the Texas Tech University and all of its different components. And many of our people that are friends of Texas Tech have expressed their thoughts on the future, and they've talked about areas that they think that we should be able to grow in. And so the Board of Regents has taken all of that into consideration. We've listened to what people have told us out there, and we take it, each one of us members as the Board of Regents, we take what we're supposed to do, we take it very seriously. We take those responsibilities very seriously. Each of us spends hundreds, if not thousands of hours dedicated to the system, and we're trying to do things that we think are good for the system, things that we think that will make the system better in the future. So giving back to the public institution like Texas Tech, it's a tremendous civic duty, and we all take great pride in doing that. So at today's board meeting, you saw Regent Rick Francis. He offered his resignation as chairman of the board, and the board did accept his resignation today. And so effective immediately, according to the bylaws and the Regent's rules that are part of our Texas Tech system, I immediately become the role of the chair. And the board is putting together another committee that will be meeting soon to talk about the vice chair. And since I've vacated that position, we'll be naming a vice chair probably next week, and you'll hear more about that soon. So I want to thank Rick Francis on behalf of the board, and all of the board members join with me and say thank you to Rick for his 15 years that he served on the Board of Regents. He worked tireless hours working to make Texas Tech a better system, and for that we want to thank him for everything that he's done. And then additionally, you saw the Board of Regents also named interim chancellor Dr. Ted Mitchell as the sole finalist for the position of chancellor. Dr. Mitchell has done a tremendous role as the job in his role as president of the Texas Tech University Health Science Center. He wants to continue in that role and then also move into the chancellor's role, so he'll be working out all the details of that in the future. And so we wish him much success in doing that as well. So, and also the board has reaffirmed its commitment to seek state funding for a veterinary school in Amarillo, which we believe is much, much needed for this region. We want to thank especially Amarillo for its commitment to this project. That community has really come together and made a firm commitment of how much they want to see the vet school to end up in Amarillo. Texas Tech realizes that there are a lot of people in our region that earn their living in the agricultural industry. In fact, it's one of the top economic drivers in our region. So it's the role of the Tech system to make sure that we support these people of the great state of Texas. And by building the veterinary school, we think that that will fulfill a much need in our state. So we're going to work immediately to begin to secure the legislation that's approval that will be needed to establish that school. So the Texas Tech University, it reaches throughout our state, and the next thing that we want to work on is a dental school in El Paso. That's another community that's really come together, and they've shown their support for the dental school, providing much funding and their unwavering support for that dental school. And then also a new initiative that we picked up this year is the Mental Health Institute that will be located here in Lubbock, and those plans are just now developing, but we're all in support of that as well. So this is something that's also needed. So I think behind me you see the Regents. Each one of these are graduates of, in some way, of the Texas Tech University Health System, where we have one that went to Angelo State, and the rest of them are either our student region is attending Texas Tech Health Science Center, participating in that, and then the rest of us are graduates of Texas Tech, and I think that shows our commitment to Texas Tech. We love Texas Tech. We want Texas Tech to do well. Sometimes we don't always agree on everything that we might be working on, but it's in the end, it's our commitment that we're going to come together for the betterment of Texas Tech. So I want to ask all the Raider Nation to join us as we continue to move forward. So thank you all for being here, but I'll answer some questions if you have some.
A lot of speculation.
Right.
Maybe warranted speculation about what happened on August 9th. Is there any details you can give us? I'm assuming you're operating as chair.
I am operating as chair at about an hour or so ago, yes.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Can you describe for us what happened in that meeting? And was there an informal vote? Was Duncan taken aside by the former chairman?
Well, and I'm sure you understand this, that everything that happens in executive session should stay in executive session, and there's lots of deliberation that happens in executive session, and we can't discuss all of that.
Was there a vote?
There is not a vote, as you well know. You can, I'm sure, that you can't take a vote in executive session. What we do much is go around the room. We express our opinions. We talk about, we ask questions, things that we want clarification on, but there's never a vote taken.
Your understanding at the end of that meeting, as you walked down the room, that Duncan would be forced into a retirement?
Our discussions centered around Duncan's, the renewal of Duncan's contract that was coming up soon for renewal. And that's as far as I can go on what was discussed in the executive session.
Was there any indication that Mr. Francis was going to resign before today, and you know why he chose to resign today?
Well, if you read his statement, he talked about there was a change in leadership. Obviously, this didn't just happen for him this morning. You know, he's been thinking about this for a long time, and I'm sure he's been talking to a lot of people about what is in the best interest of Texas Tech, and I feel confident that that's why he made that decision. He felt like, and I can't speak for Regent Francis, but I would think he felt like he had become a distraction to what some of the other activity that was going on, and for the betterment of Texas Tech, he chose to, like he said in his words, that he wanted to step aside and have new leadership. You know, I don't. I didn't ask him about if that entered into his decision or not. I'm sure he was aware of the campaign that was there, but you know, I'm sure that was soul searching on his part, and what he felt was the best that needed to be done.
You thanked him for his 15 years. Is he stepping down from the board altogether?
Well, no, and I should have clarified that, so thanks for asking that. What he said in his statement, he was stepping down as in his role as chair. His time is up in January of 19, and so as far as I know, today he'll be fulfilling that time. So he has about 4 months left.
Indicated whether he'll go up for reappointment?
He has not. He has not talked to me or anyone, and of course that's the governor's decision whether he will reappoint him or not, as it is with all of us. Yes. You know, we talked about having a national search to do that, and Dr. Mitchell, we've all known Dr. Mitchell for a long period of time. He's just done a tremendous job in the Health Science Center. All of the numbers within the Health Science Center are just up, and the satisfaction and the students love the Health Science Center. And so with the experience that he had doing that, he just seemed like such a natural, and the discussions came down to, could we ever do any better than with Ted Mitchell? Well, for one, he brings his knowledge that he has of Texas Tech, and as he will always say, he loves Texas Tech, and I think his sons and some of his family have gone to Texas Tech as well, so he has a true love for Texas Tech. but also he brings that experience that he's done with all of the people that he's managed in the Health Science Center. It's a natural. He's already worked with the presidents of Angelo State and Dr. Skuvanek and Dr. Lang in El Paso. So he already has those relationships with the other presidents. It just seemed like we just couldn't find anybody that'd do a better job than Dr. Mitchell. Well, if he didn't make some changes, it'd be very unusual, because almost every time you have a change in leadership in some way, there is some change. I don't think anybody knows today what that change is. He's only done this for 5 weeks. I'm sure he has some opinions about things that he wants to do, but I think we'll be seeing that over the next few months. He'll come out with other things that he wants to do. But Dr. Mitchell's a very methodical man. He's not going to operate rashly. I think he'll come back with a very good plan that he'll share with the Regents at the appropriate time.
With all the change-ups on the Board of Regents, new chancellor, new chairperson, how does the board refocus on efforts to get to that school and make sure that the funding is secured for the new vet school?
Well, you don't see much change behind us. As you know, every 2 years there's 3 new regents that are appointed. So newest behind us is Michael Lewis. Aren't you the newest? Michael Lewis is our newest regent. So he's been around the table with everybody for almost 2 years. But everybody else has served many years. I'm completing my 6th year. And so we've all had the advantage of being around, but we're just going to reshuffle the chairs just a little bit and see what we can do.
So there's a guy who's got some availability now, Chairman. He knows that legislature pretty well. And there were conversations about hiring Duncan to lobby on behalf.
Well, you know, Duncan is a fine man. Now, one of the things Texas Tech is, we're very fortunate to have several past chancellors that are still around and still available. Duncan's a great guy. Hance is still a great guy and wanting to be involved. I think we'll see discussions in the future with Hance and Duncan and how they can still be used. Both of those guys really do love Texas Tech, and they want to give back to this university. So we'll be looking for ways, how can we use them appropriately in their skill set and their experience that they bring to the table. Mm-hmm.
There was some speculation and some rumblings that what happened with former Chancellor Duncan was influenced by some outside influences. Can you speak to that?
Well, I would say all of our discussions that happen among the regents, and so there's not ever anybody else that's involved in legislature that is involved in those discussions. That's our responsibility to take those and to make those important decisions that we need to make. You know, Chancellor Duncan submitted his resignation. He said he wanted to retire. I've talked to Duncan several times since then. He's very much enjoying his retirement. I think he's looking for something else that he wants to do, that he can still give back in some way. But I think he's very comfortable in his role, in his retirement role.
I know he's not here, so
Right. And I'm not speaking for him either, so please don't quote me on that.
as far as the op-ed in the paper from Mr. Francis concerning some disagreements between the board and Mr. Duncan, can you speak to those disagreements that Mr. Francis touched on there?
Well, there's hardly a topic that comes up that we don't have some discussion, some disagreement. You've got 9 people back here behind me that are regents. All of us come to the table with lots of different opinions, lots of different perspectives, lots of different educational backgrounds for whatever we do for a living. You bring those to the table, there is going to be disagreement that you have, but hopefully at the end of the day, we're still a board. We may not always vote 100% on an issue, but it is our job to debate those issues. So to tell you we don't have disagreements, I couldn't do it with a straight face, because that's our job, is to come in and debate those things and then chart a course and then move forward with what we're supposed to do.
Your most trying week, I would assume, was between August 13 and that week ahead until
I don't know. I've had a lot of long weeks as a region because we debate a lot of important issues, and there's always something that we're needing to discuss. You know, and there's always the debate about when is the appropriate time to come out with a message of something, and we always want to make sure that we have a unified message that should be. So I'd say sometimes we're not as good as what we should be about communicating. It's one of our discussions that we've had today is let's do better in the future. We can't do anything about the past, but let's do better in the future. That was an op-ed by Chairman Francis. I think he wrote that himself, or as far as I know. So again, I can't speak for him.
One more question?
Do you believe that the board is representative of the university system and is diverse?
It depends on how you define diverse. If you just strictly go male-female, obviously not. We don't have enough males, and I've heard the governor have some discussions about changing that when his new appointments come up. But the other diversity that we're responsible for is we need to be represented around the state. And so you see all of us from, I guess, two of them, two live in Houston and two live in Dallas, is that right? Two Houston, two Dallas, which is representative because that's where a lot of our students come from. You've got me, I'm from Abilene, and so I'm kind of in the West Texas portion of that. I think it's hard to get all of that diversity, but I think, again, these come from the governor. I think he does his best to try and make that happen.
Karen, you want to get one before we wrap it up?
Yes. Hance. You know, I think that's something that Dr. Mitchell has had discussions about. If you look at the last two chancellors that we've had, they were both politicians, and maybe if you go back to the third one too, that was a politician as well. But that's not the skill set that he brings, but there's no one way to be a chancellor. You can come up with other different ways. I think you'll see him reach out to find somebody else to help him on a part-time basis that has that experience in the legislative session. But again, I don't want to speak for him. I think he's still kind of formulating all those things of what he wants to do.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming and being here.